Okay, what's up, people? I am here to teach you how to use command blocks. If you do not know who I am very good with command blocks, and I'm going to show you some different stuff now. So, just the first thing you really need to know about command blocks is how to tell them apart. There is the impulse command block, and that is the orange one. This is the most basic one. So the first thing is it can have a name. So let's give it a name like Fred. Fred is an impulse. If you wanted to change that, it would be here to the 3 different kinds. But we're going to skip that till later. Next is the condition. Usually an impulse is going to be unconditional. The next thing is the redstone. The redstone usually needs redstone. Now, there's a few exceptions to those 2 things, but barely ever. So we'll talk about that later in later episodes, okay? Now, Fred has 0 delay in ticks. That means when I push the button, it's going to happen immediately. So let's make Fred do something. Let's have him say hi. And boom. Push the button, Fred says hi. If you don't want to use a button, you can use a lever. Fred still says hi. If you wanted to do something like with blocks, so it's less breakable with water and stuff like that, you can totally set up like a piston, some redstone. Check that out. Boom. Now Fred says hi. So that's how you power a basic impulse command block. Now let's try to do something with the repeating command block. So a repeating command block is going to be orange. My citizens will get into fights occasionally. Don't worry about that. They're fine. And, well, the impulse is orange. The repeating command block is purple. And what a repeating command block will do, let's call it Pete. It will repeat over and over again. Now, if it needs redstone, it won't repeat until you power it. So let's have repeat say I'm Pete. And if I power that, he says I'm Pete 20 times a second. And that's way too many times. So let's aim him upwards so we can start aiming the code. And instead of 0, I'm going to put it to a delay of 20. Now if I turn it on, it happens every second. So let's break that. What if you don't want to power it with redstone? I don't want to use redstone, so we switch to always active. As you can see, I don't have buttons all over everything. Now it's just happening without me having to use power. Now he keeps saying he's Pete, but nobody's responding to him. So let's use the last kind of command block. We'll connect a chain command. And a chain command needs a repeater or an impulse. It can't function on its own. Now the chain command, let's call it repeat. And it will say, I'm Pete too. Now, usually chain commands you want to be always active. Again, there's like tiny exceptions. We're not going to worry about that now. If it has no delay, it's going to respond immediately because it's going to do Pete, and then a tick later it's going to do repeat. But if we delay it a second, now we've got a kind of a problem because the delay of the repeater is overlapped by the delay of the repeater. So this has to be more. This is kind of a big rule. All of your chain command delays, let's say I had 3 repeats. If there's a delay of 20 on each of them, the repeater has to be delayed more than all of them. So 80 is greater than 20, 20, 20, which is 60. So now everything will work the way I want it to. You have to give it a second to kind of sort itself out. Now check it out. Pete will say, I'm Pete, and then every second, one of the chains fire and says, I'm Pete too. This is the basics of how these 3 different types of command blocks work. The impulse needs you to push the button and then something happens. The repeater is, impulse doesn't need a button push. And let me explain that while I got you. See, like these are always active, but what that means is they'll only fire once and then they're done. That's all they're gonna do. And so you don't want to just use impulse. Those, I only needed them to fire once. That'll make sense later. I'll explain all these advanced commands. Just pick the ones you want. Leave a comment in the comments section about which kind of commands you would like to learn. Oh, sorry about that. My internet just cut out for a second. The basics are right there. Now you know the different types. If you look at my wall of commands, you will see mostly I use repeaters and chain commands. Impulse commands are for devices. Repeaters and chains are mostly for codices. Repeaters and chains are mostly for coding. Like if you see, I've got all sorts of advanced menus and stuff. I can do all sorts of crazy stuff with my commands. And you will too once I teach you all this stuff. But it takes a little time, so give me time to record the next episode and just, watch my old stuff until then. But impulse functions a lot when you do devices. Like if I've got some sort of machine that runs somewhere, it's gonna run off an impulse. Like let me get to my cafe. Yeah. So if I buy a coffee at my cafe, that's gonna run on an impulse command. Oh, I've been meaning to come back here to this patio and chill. So I'm gonna hang out here and I'm gonna let you guys go. If you have any questions about it or about who I am Meowgician. Pretty obvious. I'm Super Meow and I make commands and stuff. I'm really good at command block coding. So just message in the comments. I already said that, didn't I? Okay, just go now. Goodbye.